I'm Molly Birnbaum, Editor-in-Chief of America's Test Kitchen Kids, and I'm here with my daughter. What's your name?
I'm Ariel today.
You're Ariel today? I'm here with my daughter Ariel, aka Olive, who is 3.5 years old. And it may not seem like Pop-Tarts are the most seasonal recipe, but here's my case. They are super fun to make with your family when it is chilly outside and you have a lot of time to kill. So today, Olive and I are going to make perfectly seasonal strawberry Pop-Tarts. So the first step for making all of our recipes that we've designed for kids and their grown-ups is to get ourselves completely organized by preparing our ingredients. This way, there's no possibility that we'll get halfway through our recipe and realize that we don't have enough flour or are missing eggs. So today, we've gathered all of our ingredients for our Pop-Tarts. We have 2.5 cups flour, 1 egg, 12 tablespoons of butter, chilled, cut into 1/2-inch pieces, 1/2 cup of sour cream, also chilled, a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of cornstarch, a tablespoon of water, and 3/4 cup of strawberry jam. All right, our next step is to gather all of our cooking equipment. This way, you also won't get halfway through the recipe and realize halfway through that you don't have a rolling pin. So Olive and I have gathered everything we need to make strawberry Pop-Tarts. What is first, Olive? 1 tablespoon measuring spoon right there. We also have oven mitts, a ruler, spatula, whisk, rolling pin, fork, a bench scraper, one of my favorite tools, 2 bowls, 1 microwave safe, plastic wrap, a cooling rack, some parchment paper inside our rimmed baking sheet, and last but not least, a food processor. All right, now it is time to start cooking. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take this 1/2 cup of sour cream. We're gonna put the 1/2 cup of sour cream into this bowl. And we're gonna crack the egg in as well. Do you remember how to crack an egg?
Where do you want the sound?
Good job. That's awesome. 1 egg cracked right into the bowl, and it's okay if a couple shells get in there because you can just take them right out. Next, we are going to mix together the egg and the sour cream with our whisk. And this is the perfect activity for a young chef to do. Are you our expert whisker, Olive? Mm-hmm. All right, let's do it. Good job. When I'm cooking with my kids, I really love to involve them in all of the hands-on parts of the recipe. Wanna do it together? Okay.
It's going so fast.
That looks pretty good. All right, so we're gonna put this aside while we use our food processor. So we have our flour, 2.5 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna put all of these in our food processor to mix them up. I will put in the flour because it can be a little bit messy. Put the lid on. And Olive, you're gonna press the pulse button just a couple times.
Right here?
Mm-hmm. And the next thing we're gonna do is add our butter in. So Olive, can you grab our 12 tablespoons of chilled butter? We wanna get them into tiny pieces, pea-sized pieces through the food processor. So then they'll be evenly distributed through our Pop-Tart dough. We're gonna pulse it until we get small pea-sized pieces of butter evenly mixed throughout.
Wow.
Do 3 more times.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Okay, let's take a look. That looks pretty good. As you can see, there's just tiny little pieces of butter in there, about pea-sized, evenly spread throughout. So do you know what comes next?
Mm-mm.
We are going to add your special sour cream mixture.
Okay.
We're gonna pulse 10 times. You wanna count?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and now this is all basically mixed up, but now we're gonna turn it into dough. So we're gonna-
I can see one of them right here.
Yeah, you can see it. Can you reach that button right there? The on button?
This one?
This one. I'm gonna let it go. Look at it. Okay, now you can press off. Good job. What does that look like?
A snowman.
A snowman, exactly. So, process your dough until it looks like a snowman. Done. So what we're gonna do now is we need to chill the dough before we roll it out because it is very pliable. There's a lot of butter that's pretty warm in there from the processing. So what we're gonna do, Olive, is we're gonna separate it into two. So I'm just gonna use my fingers and put this into two. And can you turn it into a rectangle? The reason to get it in a rectangle is that this will help us roll it out because we wanna roll it out into a pretty succinct rectangle to make our Pop-Tarts. I'm gonna wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for 1 hour. All right, Olive, are you ready to make the filling for our Pop-Tarts? Okay, so first things first, we need to put the jam in a small microwavable bowl. This is strawberry jam without seeds. And then we have 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 1 tablespoon of water. And now we whisk it up. Okay, should we do it together? Turbo stir. Okay, done. Now we're gonna put this in the microwave for between 1 minute and 2 minutes until we start to see bubbles come up. That's basically cooking this lightly without having to use the stove, which is great for kids. All right, let's go to the microwave. And now we wait. All right, so this got some nice bubbles when it was in the microwave. It's hot, so we can't touch the bowl. You need to use oven mitts for this. And we're gonna let this cool until it's ready. Okay, I've lost Olive for the moment. She told me she was bored, but that's okay. We will carry on without her, and she'll probably be back at the end. But now it's time to roll out the dough. So I took our chilled dough out of the refrigerator, and I've let it sit here for about 10 minutes so it can soften just a tiny bit. This is half of the dough. And I have a little bit of flour to dust the counter before I start rolling here so it won't get stuck. Because all of our kids' recipes are kid tested and kid approved, this means that some of our more than 8,000 kid recipe testers across the country have tried it at home and been able to do it and would make it again. And what we're gonna do here is roll this into a rectangle about 9.5 inches wide and 12.5 inches long. And the edges of the dough are always a little bit tricky in terms of getting to be perfectly even. And give it a quick measure. This is looking long enough, a little over 12 inches, and wide enough. It is wide enough too. The ends can get tricky here because it's not quite 9. We're missing this, so I'm gonna work on the edges a tiny bit, and then I think we'll be ready to do some cutting out. All right, and to cut out our Pop-Tarts, which is the trickiest part of this recipe, I love to use my bench scraper. It's not sharp, it's great for kids to be using in the kitchen, and it can give you nice straight lines. I want my dough to be about 9 inches across, so I'm gonna make a little notch there. And the key is to create a pretty straight rectangle here so that you can have really even looking Pop-Tarts. And this part of the recipe, while it may not be great for a 3.5-year-old, is a really fun thing to do with slightly older kids and a good way for them to practice math too. All right, so now we have our relatively straight rectangle here for our Pop-Tarts. And I like to measure, get a sense of where the 4.5 inches are for how long they're gonna be. Make a little mark, and then up and down the side here, there'll be 3 inches. So make little marks at each 3 inch on either side, which will help me cut it completely with my bench scraper. All right, straight down the center and through each side. As you know, we had 2 halves of dough like this. I've actually already rolled out 1/2 of it, and it's been chilling in the fridge for about 15 minutes. And those are gonna be the bottoms of my Pop-Tarts. These are gonna be the tops. And so to make them look exactly like Pop-Tarts, what we need to do is prick the top dough with a fork, just straight across in 2 lines. This also lets a little bit of steam escape as they're baking so they won't explode. All right, to fill these Pop-Tarts, we're gonna take the filling that's now had a chance to cool down, and you can see how it's really thickened up here with the cornstarch. I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of our cool filling in the center of each one. For some reason, it's this filling that feels so Pop-Tart-like to me, is the thickness, the slight gumminess in a good way of that cornstarchy strawberry filling. It is reminiscent of my childhood, for sure. I have a little bowl of water here, and I'm just gonna run my finger, a wet finger, around the edge of each of these Pop-Tarts. This will help seal them from the top. So I'll do it one at a time. So water around the edge, and then I take my Pop-Tart top and squish it in a little bit with my fingers. We'll seal it more with a fork, but first let's put them all on. All right, and the very last step here is to take your fork and just press around the edges of each of the Pop-Tarts to fully seal them up. Pop-Tarts are basically little tiny hand pies. I know that a lot of people are having socially distant social interactions these days in which you're eating food together outside. These are perfect, and they'll warm your hands too if you heat them up before you bring them. There we go. Pop-Tarts ready to bake. I'm gonna bake these in my oven in the middle rack at 350 degrees for 22 to 24 minutes until they're just slightly browned around the outside. We are back with Olive, or what is your name this afternoon?
A fairy Elsa.
A Fairy Elsa. So we're back with Fairy Elsa, and we are going to do the last finishing touch on our beautiful Pop-Tarts, which are here out of the oven, and they've been cooling down for a little bit so that we can glaze them. And this is what's gonna really make them nostalgic of childhood, or just the most delightful thing ever. Are you ready to make the frosting?
Yeah.
So here we have powdered sugar. This is about 1.25 cups, I believe, 5 ounces, and 2 tablespoons of milk. Do you want to dump that in? And then we have 1 tablespoon of softened cream cheese. I'll dump that one in. And then we need to whisk it up. Sure, should we do it together? And I'll use a spoon and you use that tool. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put a dollop of glaze on top, and you could just smooth it out with that thing. Make it nice and smooth over the top. Because do you know what comes on it next?
Sprinkles.
That looks pretty amazing. One more little pinch, and we'll go on to the next one. Oh, that's a lot of sprinkles, Olive. Oh, you got it. Long arms.
I'm on my tips so I can write them.
I think we did it, Olive. Now, the best part. It's time to taste the Pop-Tarts. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
I want the one with this one.
With all the sprinkles on it? Yeah. All right, you take this one and I'll take this one. And should we take a bite at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Ready? Cheers. Pop-Tart cheers. Those are really good, Olive. Mm-hmm. The pastry is nice and flaky. The strawberry inside tastes just like a Pop-Tart. Mm-hmm. And they're beautiful. Thank you all for cooking with us. This has been so much fun.